So, Harry, the next step I wanted to get into was I just wanted you to discuss or just to have us discuss the letters that you got from your Hollands codes, and
Yep.
just to get a better understanding of your career and your personality and kind of how they work together.
Okay.
That'll be all right.
Yeah.
And just, sorry, to start off with that, what were your three-letter Holland codes?
I believe I was SI and A.
SINA. Okay, and so how would you explain each of these three letters?
Well, I guess social. I expected that. I'm a very social person. Like, I like being around people. I couldn't envision a career that didn't involve that. Investigative. I would say I'm a curious person. I like to figure out how things work. Like sort of problem solving in that. If I remember, artistic. I like listening to music and all that. Like, and I love watching movies and everything like that. And I'm very investigative with that. I guess, but it was very low. It was just the highest of all the other ones that were low. So I was very much primarily, I'm pretty sure, social. And investigative.
Okay, so you can sort of see why you got the artistic, but it sounds as though it's not nearly as significant for you as the other two.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. And how would you explain the order of these three letters? If does that make sense to you?
Yeah. S and I would be competing. I would say that if I had to choose, it would be social. I'd have to be around people. But they'd still be very close. And A, that makes sense that it's at the end. I think it was just above enterprising. So the order I would say makes sense to me.
Okay, great. And in terms of, like you said, the prioritization of all of those. Okay, excellent. And I mean, it's also, as well, when you're looking at your mini IPIP, so you said you're very high in social. Obviously, extroversion was one of the highest things you scored on.
Yep.
So, it does kind of line up a little bit, and I think you can see it reflecting in these other areas as well.
Yeah. I thought of it like that.
Oh, that's good. And in terms of this, let's see if we can maybe craft a bit of a story about the order of these codes.
Okay.
So if you were to locate your letters, I've actually put a scale here.
Okay.
If you were to locate your letters on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 was the least important and 10 is the most important to you,
Yep.
where would you locate the first letter, the second letter, and the third letter? So least, most, kind of in the middle.
Okay, so social, investigative, and artistic. I guess I would put social would probably be the most important to me. Investigative, maybe around there. And I like artistic. But just in terms of a career, probably pretty low.
Okay. So you've got artistic at the lowest, and then the other two are pretty top heavy, closer to the more important side of things for you.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Alright, so in regards to that, how do you interpret the location of your letters on the scale? So obviously, like I just pointed out, investigative and social are quite close, artistic's a bit lower. Can you just explain that and why you think that is?
Well, social, I guess, like I said, it would be sort of a non-negotiable in any sort of career that I was to go into. I couldn't see a career without it. So that's why it's at the top. I would say even just in terms of my life, it would be really that high. Investigative really isn't too far behind it. I guess I put it a bit below it just because I could see myself in a career that was maybe more social and not really investigative at all, but I couldn't see the reverse.
Right, got it.
But still, being investigative is something I get a lot of satisfaction out of, I guess. And then artistic, I mean, I was originally just going to put it as 1 because it's not something I've really considered to be a part of my career or that, but I guess I could see myself, I don't know, maybe getting into writing or something like that when I'm older. So I could see it becoming more important later. I might even have moved actually a bit higher up the thing.
Right. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So you're saying that social and investigative are basically neck and neck.
Yep.
You put social at the top because you felt that was more in line with the career that would be best suited for you.
Yep.
Then you've got investigative is pretty close, but you said just a little bit behind social in
Yeah.
terms of what you'd like to pursue. And then you said, obviously, for the last one, you were saying that it's something that you might want to pursue later on in life. So it's not a 1, it's not a 2, it's kind of in the 3, so low areas,
Yeah.
but there's some potential there further down the line.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, excellent. I think we've dissected that very well. And so next going forward, the next question I have is, in what ways is the first letter of your code evident in your life? So let's start off with that one. How is that reflected in your life?
I guess social is evident in my life as I consider myself I'm obviously a very social person. I've always really prioritized like hanging out with friends and having a social life. Like, no matter how much study I had to do or anything like that, I would say I always prioritize, like, I guess not feeling like alone or anything like that. I always like having people around me. If I was to watch a movie, I'd prefer to really just do it with other people. I like going out to bars and that, socializing, or meeting, making new friends, talking to strangers. I guess I also, I like to talk about like deep things too. I like to have sort of, I'm not a big fan of like small talk. I like to sort of get to know, I really like to get to know people.
Right.
And like know people on a deeper level. So I'd say like, with like that's sort of the relationships I have with my friends. Like I don't really have a lot of like shallow friendships of that.
Right.
In my life.
Right.
I guess I can't really think of many other ways that would tie into how it's evident in my life.
Well, I think you touched on it very well because you were saying you've got very deep, meaningful relationships with people.
Yeah.
You enjoy the activities you do with them.
Yeah.
And again, that's kind of right in line with your high score on universalism on the SVS, where you've got an appreciation for people, and not just in terms of just being around them, but for actually the conversations you have and the insightfulness that they bring.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, right. So that lines up pretty well. I think that makes a lot of sense for you. And so going on to the next one. So we talked about that one very well. So in what ways is the second letter, is investigative, evident in your life?
So investigative, a lot of spare time is spent. I do a lot of Sudoku, I do a lot of crosswords, like riddles, things like that. I find a lot of satisfaction in just solving problems, like logistical problems and that. I'll get really interested in just anything that any sort of topic that piques my interest. I really dive in and like want to figure it out. If there's something in my life that I use often and I think like, I actually have no idea how that works. I just have the curiosity. I just really want to find it out. I've always been a person to just sort of collect facts, just about random useless stuff, things that really don't give me any sort of benefit to like my life, but they just make me. I just like them. I just have a real interest for them. I guess problem solving. Math. And I guess, I would just say I'm a very curious person. I like to know how things work.
Yeah, well, you touched on it in a lot of different ways because you're talking about the intrigue that you get from the questions itself.
Yeah.
I think you obviously were touching on the satisfaction you feel as well from solving a problem. But then, like you said, it doesn't necessarily need to be something that's giving you any knowledge. It just needs to either be challenging, like you said, or it could be just piquing your interest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so, again, a great reflection of how your in curiosity, I think, kind of encompasses all these different areas.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, all right, great. So I can see why it's high with the social. You've given a lot of good examples there. All right, and so this one will be interesting. So we're going down from the top of the scale, a little bit more to the bottom. So in what ways would you say, artistic is, how is this most evident in your life?
Well, I wouldn't really call myself an artistic person, but I really appreciate the arts. I love listening to music, like all different types of genres. I love watching movies, love film, love television, maybe a little bit too much sometimes. But I would say, yeah, I listen to a lot of music. I'd say I listen to more music than like the average person. Wherever I'm going somewhere, if I'm by myself, I have my earphones in. And yeah, I really like it going to live music. Even art I like. So I guess I really appreciate it and I partake in it a lot, but I wouldn't say I couldn't see myself doing any sort of artistic career just because I don't feel like I'm good at any of those things, nor do I really care for them. For being good at them.
Right, and that's very interesting too, because you touched on these three letters, and you've almost what you've described, especially with the artistic, it's almost as weighted as heavily as the other two in terms of its involvement in your life, where you have so much interest in it, you engage in it the same way you do with your friends and problem solving. But it's so interesting that that's a bit lower because you can't see yourself actually partaking in a career in that area. Right. But I guess, would you, again, say that that's something that, again, further down the line, you might potentially look into?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had an interest in, like, learning an instrument. I love to sing. I'm not very good at it, but I do really enjoy singing. Like, love karaoke and everything like that. But, yeah, I wouldn't say that I could see myself maybe doing it later down the line, but just couldn't see myself doing it for a career.
Absolutely, well, that's fair. I think you reaffirmed its spot at number 3 quite well. Alright, and so we've gone through in terms of how they're in your life, and so what relationships do you see between, these three letters and various facets of your life, such as how they play into, work and learning and other life roles?
So the relationship between them, I guess, when it comes to social and like investigative, I see a sort of tying between like how things work, and also I guess I like how people work. I sort of maybe analyse people more than I should. I sort of like, think about what they're doing, like what their motives are, this and that. So I find that really interesting. Yeah, I just like thinking about people's problems and thinking about like why they have this problem, whether like, maybe they're somewhat the problem, things like that. So I really find a lot of curiosity in people as well. Social and artistic, I guess, love going to music festivals, things like that. I love experiencing the arts with other people, probably the most. Investigative and artistic, I like looking at the symbolism behind certain things. Why they are the way they are, like what the message of this is supposed to be, or maybe what my interpretation of it is. Say in movies, like working out themes. And I guess between all three of them, I can't really see many connections. Something that involves all aspects of them. But yeah.
No, I think that was good. And I mean, you kind of talked on how social and investigative play this interesting role where they almost cause you to have these sort of psychological assessments of your friends.
Yeah.
Where you're diving deeper into things because you're curious, and it sounds like they work in a very interesting way for you.
No, they work with a lot of synergy, I'd say.
Absolutely. And then again, social being at the top, it ravels in investigative very well, as you touched on. And then I think, it was quite obvious that you're struggling a little bit to identify how investigative and artistic play together. Do you think that those would be probably the weakest link between the combination of the relationship of those letters?
Yeah, I would say I'm just an investigative person in all really areas of my life. Okay. Art just happens to be one of them. I wouldn't say that that's a huge passion that I'm investigative when it comes to art. It just happens to be one of the many things that I'm sort of investigative. Right, with.
So it's all encompassing and art falls under it just as many other areas in your life too. Okay, great. And so talking about crafting a story, about your life through these letters, because we want to look at your own personal reflection, just to kind of bring it back to you again. What personal qualities have you identified in your reflection so far that are most important to you?
I guess I'm a more curious person than I guess I would have considered myself. I guess I really prioritize that a lot more. I would have to have a career that I am, discovering things. I guess social. I've never really thought about the idea of social and investigative being together in like sort of a career. I guess something in like a health like psychology field could be really interesting. But and I guess art. If I was to do it again, I'd say I'd probably put art higher up on the list, as I do really value that, and if I could eventually work that into some career I had, I'd really like that. But yeah, I see how I think investigative might even be right up next to social as well, and the fact that I'm investigative really in every part of my life, where I'm only social in my social parts of my life.
Right, of
course.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say so I'm a lot more curious, and like I think I'll have to have some sort of discovery factor in any sort of career, or just in the rest of my life, in my future.
Right, so based on your self-reflection, it sounds like you would rank investigative a bit higher.
Yeah.
You'd almost put it neck and neck with social right at the top.
Yeah.
And you made a very interesting point. You were saying that you might actually put artistic a bit higher, because that is something you're passionate about and you might want to pursue down the line.
Yeah, I can see myself doing that.
Okay, well that's great. That's good that we can see how these all play together for you.